Today we're going to make this bench, which I actually built as a table to hold my plants in my studio. It was built out of one piece of 2 by 12 by 12 foot Douglas Fir, which I got at the lumber yard for about $15. I started by planing it down to flatten it out and reduce sanding later. Next, I used the table saw to cut everything down to width. Then I cut the top down to length with the circular saw. I used the miter saw to cut the 4 leg pieces down to length. Then I spent a little bit of time thinking about how the legs might look best and what to do next. After that, I finished cutting the rest of the leg pieces with the miter saw. I glued everything together and used clamps and let everything dry before going back and adding dowels for strength. Using dowels is really easy. You just drill a hole, this one is 3/8 inch in diameter, and then go back, add some glue, hammer in a dowel, and cut it off with a pull saw. Honestly, I think the dowels are probably overkill as the glue should be strong enough on its own, but I figured I might as well be safe rather than risk it falling apart later. I had waited to cut down the middle stretchers for the legs because I wasn't sure exactly how far apart I wanted the feet to be. I gave everything a really good sand down to 220 grit. I used pocket holes to attach the stretchers to the legs. All you do is use this little jig to drill a hole, and then you come back and attach it with pocket hole screws to whatever you're attaching it to. It's really strong and really easy to use. Even if I don't show it on screen, I used wood glue to strengthen all of the joints. I added this little piece to the center of the stretchers to reduce some of the bow in the long pieces. The wood had warped a little bit, which resulted in this little crack. I used wood putty to fill it up. I filled up all the pocket holes with dowels to make it a little bit prettier. This is definitely not necessary as they're on the bottom, but why not? To allow for wood movement in the top, I drilled holes with a bit that was larger than the head of the pocket hole screw I was using. Then I drilled in a second hole through the base that was smaller, but still larger than the shaft of the screw. This should allow it to move around with the wood as it expands and contracts. Unfortunately, some warp in the wood caused the feet to be uneven. For me, having the top being level was most important, so I made sure it was level, and I used a small piece of wood to trace a parallel line to the ground on the legs. Then I cut them with my circular saw. I used a sanding block to chamfer the feet so that the end grain wouldn't splinter when hitting the ground. Then I finished everything with 2 to 3 coats of water-based polyurethane. And that was it. I'm really excited about how the top slab came out in particular. I spent a lot of time trying to find a good board, and I really think it paid off. While I'm really happy with the final product, I would suggest using kiln-dried wood if you're planning to do this on your own. That will help reduce some of the bowing I got, which caused most of the problems I encountered. That being said, for the like $20 I spent on materials, I think my version looks really nice. If you made it this far, why not hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel? That'll help you stay up to date as I post new projects. Thanks.